What's up, McKenna?
Hello. So they got off by 15 minutes.
I just ended his meeting.
Well, perfect. We can try and figure out this Zoom on our end then.
No one tried to tell me anything, so I'm just doing what I do.
Yeah, sorry. I meant to text you.
Oh, this is fun.
Well, you have to sign into the Zoom. Can't you just go into it?
No, as a presenter, they told me to be the host using their login and password.
Okay, did you do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just try and log in like normal. So this projector screen is really janky. And like, it will connect to my laptop for like 30 seconds and then shut off. Do you have the Zoom open?
Yes.
Okay. Is anyone in it?
No.
Yeah, it's telling me invalid item.
Oh, that was me, McKenna. I restarted the recording of it.
Okay, I'm trying to get the projector screen to work. The projector's down. It just doesn't want to connect to my laptop.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's just being sassy.
Are there other people in that room with you, McKenna?
No, they're probably like 10 minutes out.
Oh, my bad. So I ended someone else's Zoom recording, so they were probably not happy with me right now, and I apologize. I didn't realize that there was a 15-minute delay in schedule. I was trying to keep on schedule.
I meant to text you.
That's okay.
So this is the right thing. It just doesn't like. I'm gonna go see if I can get another HDMI cord.
Okay.
I'll be back.
I'm going to pause recording again. Zoom. That way you all can watch and see it again if you'd like, or share it with someone else. So the first things I want to start with are these questions. And the first question is, what are some of the careers for AgCom? So in your brain, you should be thinking about what careers are in your community in the state of Washington that require some skills in ag communications. Who's hiring ag communicators? Where can they be employed? Whether it's a high school kid or someone who's an active adult. So in your brain, think about that. Some of those instant ones that you're probably thinking of, and I've got some images up here. The one on the far left would be someone who runs a social media site for an ag company, especially if it's a large company. They're going to need to be running that social media platform, maybe keeping up a website, maybe even running some features on a website, like some sales or some auctions, having some updated photos and communicating with the public. Some that's directly related to sales, and some of it's actually going to be just communicating ideas and messages. The far right is the Yakima Chief Hops. So the Hops Commission, actually we'll talk about in just another moment, but there are some companies who are putting up some displays. When we talk about what's attractive to someone to come and learn more about your company or your organization. So it might not just be something that people are trying to sell. We've got a lot of commodities in the state of Washington around agriculture, and we're certainly trying to tell that story of agriculture. The middle one's actually a Washington native who's back in Washington. That's Maggie Elliott. She's from Prosser. She came here for a degree in AgCom and then went to Texas Tech for a master's degree in AgCom and is now the communications gal for the Washington Hops Commission. So we talk about what are those skills that you need, and there's lots of them that we start thinking about. So there should be some technology skills, there might be some writing skills, some speaking skills, some design skills, and it has to be all around agriculture. So we think about why is that different than other places? But if we start talking about heifers, and we have an image of a bull up on the screen, That's a content area faux pas. So in agriculture, there's lots of ways that you can mess that up and alienate customers or folks in the industry. So if we put the wrong imagery in with messaging, then we're going to really throw things off. That's why it's specific to agriculture for this communications piece. So these all can be taught in class. We were chatting just before that we got started here, that this is a great addition to a leadership course, communications course, maybe some of those upperclassmen. So the whole CDE has got great resources on the Washington FFA website. It's got rubrics and the scenarios. Lots of resources out there, but sometimes it's hard to digest it all. So here's the conversation more about it. In brief, it is a team event, the AgCom CDE. It's a 4-member team and all the scores count. And students are encouraged to wear official dress at the event. There is pre-work that's due on April 15th, and I think that's a common date for lots of things in Washington that are for CDEs, and that's that media proposal. It's about a 12-page document that includes some examples of what the students would use to communicate the scenario message about. Then the presentation and practicums are during that CDE day, and that usually takes about 3 hours or so plus their presentation time. So students are probably committed for about 3.5 hours that day. My best recommendation for this CDE is to teach it in class. As a high school ag teacher in Ohio, I had a chance to do some bell ringer activities, or whatever you all might call the activities you start class with. And we did some editing quizzes and to begin class for a week. And one of the dumbest kids in the class was the smartest kid when it came to knowing some ag comm. So it really changed my mind as to what that kid knew and what he was really good at. So he was really good at playing dumb, but he really liked to show off his skills when it came to ag communications. So teach it in class, you get a good idea of what your students are up against. The right side of the screen right now should be those scores. It's almost 1,000 points, 975 for everything all in, all done. But the big component there that you'll see is 400 points for the practicums. So we'll talk about each of these components on the next couple slides. So this next slide should have, yeah, there we go, most of those components. Let's start with this media proposal. That's the only thing that's done beforehand, before the day of. So that's again due April 15th, and it's based off of a scenario. Here's a sample scenario that's provided for the CDE. This was, I think, last year's scenario, 2020. So it talks about Farm Bureau wants to promote or communicate about some commodities, and they're willing to give $5,000 to an organization or an individual that will come up with ways to communicate about a commodity. And they'll give $5,000. It's the request for proposals, submit your proposal. And that's really what the students then need to create. In 12 pages, they come up with their idea and flesh it out with some examples as to what they would do for $5,000 to communicate a commodity. In this case, they got to pick the commodity, and there was a lot of those specifics that they had for them. So again, it's that Farm Bureau said, we want to talk more about these commodities in social media, in the news. How will you do it? And we'll pay you $5,000 for it. Knowing that, here's one big catch. It's not for free, and this is a career development event. We shouldn't say, we'll do all the social media. Facebook doesn't charge anything. It's free accounts. So we'll do everything for $12. No, you're given $5,000. Make sure that your student time is worth something. And so I have down at the very bottom that you should charge $12 as an hourly rate at the minimum for the work that you would spend on it. So if you were to charge Farm Bureau, you need to think about how you would build that into a budget. And honestly, if you ran an ag company and you wanted someone to run your website or run your social media, they won't do it for free either. So you got to make sure that you are charging what the industry would charge for these commodities. Okay, so that's the scenario. It is a lot of fun. If you've got 12 kids in a class, you would have 3 teams. They can each have a different commodity or a same commodity. That's all up to the teacher. But then that will give you a head start on which proposal you might want to use or create a whole different one later. Sometimes, and these change every year, sometimes there's better scenarios than others. This is one of the easier ones to do. So if it was in class, I would go with this one every year. And then when I have a team selected, I'll have them do a new one, because you'll learn a lot by doing it a second time around. Okay, so that's that media presentation, the media pitch, proposal. The second is that red piece, that editing exercise and comm quiz. Those occur the day of. Okay. Here are 2 examples. The comm quiz and editing exercise are each worth 25 points per student. They occur during the event. 30 minutes per quiz is allotted, and students tend not to use that whole time, but they're given that time. So the first question there is, this is a graphic design term that means the area not taken up with a text or an image. There's 4 multiple choice answers there. Hopefully you've all had a chance to see that the options are gray area, graphic area, white space, or positive space. Anybody have a right answer for that? I think that most of you are thinking it's white space. Just get on with it, because you all know the answer. But there's lots of questions like this for the comm idea as you're explaining the principles of design and what eyes might follow on a screen. The second one is going to be from the editing exercise, and it says which is most correct. And there are 2 errors that are available in each of those. And so you got to pick the one that's the most correct. And so we're playing with how seeds is spelled, and then also the ensure word is in that one. So it allows students to analyze and evaluate which are the correct ways that we would communicate that message. Because if there's spelling errors or grammar errors in a sentence, it makes you look less credible. So that's a great way to spend time in class with a group of students. Okay, so that was that media proposal, media pitch, editing exercises and comm quiz, and then we've got the practicums. Are there questions there in Blaine already, or can we keep going?
We have a question. Where's a good place to get where's resources for helping kids learn editing?
Let's hold on to the questions. I can't really hear what's, but let me finish up this chat about the end of the components, and then maybe McKenna will be able to repeat that closer to the microphone for me. So the practicums occur at the conference or at the CDE, and we actually host a press conference. There's 4 members of your team. They'll each do something different. So that's a 20-minute press conference, and that's a secret until it happens. And then there's one that's a journalistic writer who would write like a news story or a press release, one who will write a blog post or an opinion piece, someone who creates a website, and someone who creates a video, a 30 or a 60 to 90 second video. That's what those look like. In the past, those press conferences, again, that 20-minute, we've done giant Asian hornets or murder hornets. That's been a recent topic. Flock 54 genetic testing for sheep, as well as MOV pneumonia. Some of those are big topics or newsworthy topics. And that's the point of the press conference, is to share new information. And then each of those people who are doing communication on your team choose the route in which that they're going to share that information. The big ticket idea for all of that is to teach students how to identify what the main point of that press conference was, what was the newsworthy piece, and then to share it out. I'd say students are just inexperienced with it, so they don't know how to report a story back out. So they might listen to a story and then retell it chronologically or in the same way that the presenter told it. But oftentimes there's a big idea that needs to lead that conversation. So in the giant Asian hornets, it was supposed to be about the new and updating pieces about murder hornets in the state of Washington. And so the students sometimes talked about what the person talked about, and sometimes they just told the entire story instead of just the news. So it's a great experience to let students grapple with several times. And so those are some past examples of them. So again, it's to teach students how to find that big point and to share that idea in an unbiased way if it's journalistic writing. And the other ones can have a little bit of bias in them. And that appropriate style for communicating is going to be important. So some of you teach how to write an essay, and some of you talk about with your students how to write for a brief audience. These are some great ways to give an example that everyone's just on a level playing field for. So that's that press conference, and everyone's given those pieces to be successful in their practicums. You don't have to be the one who teaches all of this. You can certainly farm this out to other people in your schools. Some of your business or computers folks will be able to do the web design with you or that video design. And you have some students who just love to do that anyway. They're on Snapchat a bunch or Insta videos, and they love posting some of these ideas. So they might have a lot of skills already. Okay, past 4 years, there's been 4 to 10 teams at the state in this event. Past, I don't know, I think I went back 3 or 4 years. So not a ton of teams. The quality has been really good because I think that the teachers in Washington help each other out a lot. So I don't know that there's been less than a gold ranked team at nationals from Washington in the last several years. There's been a really good skill set developed in Washington. So there are some brilliant teachers in the state that know how to do this. If you look at the list, and I pulled the teams who've competed from the last 3 years, and that's a comprehensive list. So not all of them competed in 1 year, but combined, that's all those years. So if you know one of the teachers who's there, you're welcome to reach out to them. They're probably excited to help you out with this event. So that's who's been competing. We'd love to have you compete. I am ready for some questions. I know that there were some. So if you have some that you don't get yours answered now, feel free to reach out via email. My email's up there. But McKenna, what's that first question?
Somebody answered.
We got it answered in the audience.
Oh, well, that's the next question.
When is the topic announced and released?
When will the topic be released? For state-
Great question. National FFA is the one who we follow the lead on, and it's usually January, February when we have that finalized scenario for Washington. So usually by the 1st of February or so.
Are there any other questions?
Yes. Is the social media practices going to be
Are the social media practicums going to continue on next year, or is this something that was just a new thing that will stay with this last year?
I love that question. So the practicums, there are 4. This year we modified it and we only did 2 practicums. One of those was a brand new one that we just created on social media. I haven't got any feedback as to if that's something that people would want to do, and it doesn't continue through the Washington rules. So it might be something that you all decide at this conference or throughout the summer. We don't know what that's going to be at this point for sure, but there is that option that we would continue with that social media practicum. It's different than nationals, although I did send it along to nationals to say you all should adopt this too. We'll see. I don't know that we would do a different practicum than what nationals does, just based off of what Washington does for several other CDEs.
Are there any other questions?
Additional questions?
There's like certain programmers.
For the web design and the video, what are the programs that are used?
Oh yeah, the software for the website is WordPress. It's a free design, and you can get a free account, but you can also pay for an account, so your chapter could use it. Again, these are what Nationals uses, is why we have selected those. So WordPress, you can get a free account. You can also do a paid account, which is pretty affordable, to create your own websites to give students that experience. It's a ton of fun to do in class because you can do all the work and then you can publish it. So anyway, it's a fun one, WordPress. And then the video last year, we didn't do it, but it is Adobe Premiere. You can get I think it's a 3-month free subscription to Adobe Cloud, which includes Adobe Premiere as a video editing software. It's difficult to use if you don't have a background in it, but there's some phenomenal videos and YouTube tutorials on Adobe Premiere. It's selected because it's probably the most professional that National FFA sees people use for high-end video. But teaching video editing can be done lots of ways in class, and iMovie, a lot of students have an iPhone, is a simple way to do it. Lots of other ways that you can edit video in class if you don't want to use Adobe Premiere. You can use any other software that students might have available to them. For the CDE, it is Adobe Premiere though. Are there additional questions, McKenna?
As of right now, there are not.
Okay. Are there any others here in Zoom? I don't see any in the chat. But that's all the time that I'm going to use up. I know you're all going to district meetings. If you have additional questions, feel free to send me an email. We can set up a Zoom to chat. We can talk over the phone or set up some other meeting to talk about AgCom. Again, there are some brilliant ag teachers in the state who absolutely love to share their ideas and thoughts about how they might teach it in class as well as compete in the CDE. Thanks for letting me be part of the conference. Enjoy the rest of the week, everyone.
Where